Okay, welcome everyone. You have hit the Gov AI Coalition's use cases demo. And we've got we've got three demos or two demos and sort of one presentation, which I'm really excited about. So we're going to get right into it. The first one that you're going to see is from Maddison AI. Second one is from Supercity AI. And then we have a special guest that I know personally. He is an advisor to my company and just wrote the book Fragile Systems. Oh, it's not going to do it. It's not going to zoom in on it. But that's Micah Gaudet. And so we'll go in that order and allow them to just go ahead and get into their demos. Everyone's got about 20 minutes each. These use case demos, by the way, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, they have to be co-presented with an agency. So these vendors are pulling in agencies that they have launched their solution in. So we get some very good firsthand experience of the solution being implemented. So without further ado, Hayden from Maddison AI is on, and he is going to be introducing the solution Maddison AI with the Assistant County Manager at Washoe County. Take us away.
Okay, thank you, Nicole. My name's Hayden. I'm on the founding team at Maddison AI. You don't want to hear about me, and that's okay. But we are building the AI engine to accelerate everyday work in local government. And so really what we are doing is we are on a mission to accelerate the, sort of fundamentally necessary, required, but repetitive tasks in local government. And so this work is what moves our governments forward and into the future. It enables our decision-making process as a county or a city or a water district. And we're doing that by creating the data lakes and the knowledge AI across a city or a county to help accelerate the repetitive tasks that are really important, the important knowledge work in local governments to 80% completion consistently. And so I always, Nicole, we were in a presentation in Colorado a few months back, and I always try to come to the coalition meetings. There's tons of great nuggets and learnings. And so last month, we focused a lot on Copilot and the pros and the cons and, how implementations are going. And so I wanted to just take a minute to talk about where Maddison AI is in the space of AI for staff use in city and county government. So with that, we have, our open models. So our chat GPTs, our Claude, our Geminis, we're all pretty familiar with all that stuff. It's off the shelf, it's open, it's using the internet as the data source. Great. And so last session, we talked a lot about Copilot. And I know all of us are super excited about the promise of Copilot and working within the four walls of our information and data and in our Excels and PowerPoints and Teams and in our emails, but also in our SharePoints and our file directories. And so there was a lot of chatter about, it's really good, but it misses context here. And a lot of that is because the basic foundation of Copilot is using Microsoft Graph, which is a type of tech. But it's, using files in our SharePoint directory, but it just doesn't give us the level of accuracy and completion that we need as knowledge workers in local government, right? We work in fact, and we need to make sure that we're delivering things with efficacy. And so Copilot's a great step in the right direction. It's bringing in stuff from our SharePoint and accelerating that knowledge work. Where we are really focused is building the custom developed AI workflows and retrieval augmented generation applications specifically for local government. And we're doing that by, focusing really specifically on workflows, but also files, bringing in the files in the systems of record that we work with. So, master authoritative documents across different departments to include stuff, of course, in our SharePoints, but also in our other systems of record. And so it looks kind of like something like this. So we are building the institutional knowledge engine for local government and the AI engine to accelerate everyday work. And so it looks like this. We're pulling in data from systems of record. So your agenda management system, your planning system of record, and other applications to include like your agenda packets and minutes, your master authoritative documents, ordinances and resolution, parcel level information, information from your planning commission, and then also the data from your procurement and finance division. So previously awarded contracts, RFPs and RFQs, and our official policy. Pulling that data in, building the data pipes and connections between them, and putting them into a custom closed database for every government that we're working with. So we're in 29 local governments and water districts across the United States right now. And every one we work with gets a custom database that's just their knowledge. And on top of that, we're building agentic workflows and models in different functions and departments to accelerate the tasks that we're doing every single day. So, the code lookups and planning staff reports and regular staff reports, things like that. And so it creates the data that we need in a secure place. It's built in Microsoft. It's SOC 2 compliant, and delivers a higher level of accuracy and completion than other, off-the-shelf applications, as it were. So that is what we are building in local government right now. And here is a quick overview of some of the functions, spaces, and places that we're working in. So we have the manager's office and clerks. So this is like kind of where we started about a year and a half ago. So drafting staff reports, previous voting history, bringing in the institutional knowledge from the main governing board or body of a government. The next place that we have built into is planning and community development. So I was on a call where someone said planners are like unicorns. They are hard to find, they're hard to hire, and so it's really important that we need to give them, important thinking time back in their day. So we're building the knowledge AI for planning, code lookup, parcel analysis, project findings and reports. Also giving this to our elected body to understand community sentiment on issues, summarize council actions, and then also in procurement. So drafting RFPs and RFQs, drafting the sections of grant, reports, and then also, of course, creating the compendium of knowledge related to everything that we've awarded contract-wise. This is a lot of stuff. We're not going to cover all of this today because I only have 20 minutes. So we're going to focus on 4. So we're going to focus today with Dave on drafting staff reports, doing parcel level historical research and lookup, drafting project findings and reports, and then taking a peek at RFPs and RFQ drafting. So with that, I'm going to introduce Dave. So a little bit of context setting about Maddison overall in general. What's really different and interesting about us is that we are co-owned and co-created by Washoe County here in Reno, Nevada. And actually, we have the great privilege of talking to Dave Solero. So this whole thing, the entire thing that I am talking about today, this was Dave's idea. And so he's been working in local government a long time. He spent 15 years in community development. And he's really an amazing leader focused on helping our governments do more with the resources we have. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dave and let Dave talk for a few minutes.
Hey, thanks, Aiden. I appreciate that. I think you've blown that out of proportion, but that's okay. Smart people putting this stuff together just from a simple idea. So, Aiden, I'll let you go ahead and advance the slides. Keep me on track as we go. So, one of the things that we really started into this because there's a lot of things that we do that are repetitive in nature. We hire architects, engineers, planners, management analysts, and they spend an awful lot of time doing repetitive work that something else can do for us. In this case, something else is generative AI. And so, here's just a snapshot of kind of how we are saving time and effort from those managerial type, or not managerial, administrative type tasks, allowing the planners and engineers to actually do planning and engineering work. And so this is just a snapshot of kind of the amount of time it takes for any general local government roughly to do a bunch of things, whether it's staff reports, permit reviews, financial reports, all those types of things. So go ahead, Hayden, to the next item, which is really the initial item, which was drafting a staff report. It's really easy to edit something once it's already started for you. I've got a lot of engineers that write really good technical memos. However, the governance doesn't necessarily require technical memos. So here's an example of a staff writing exercise that we did, where we've got a tetrachloroethylene problem here in the Truckee Meadows, and we've got a program that's been around since the 1990s to address this. So we've got a lot of data in our governance documents around historical data, historical laws, all those types of things. And so we need to do something very simple, which is do get approval from the board to go onto someone's property to do some work. That's really easy to write, but the whole background piece of why we needed to go onto this property and all of those other sorts of things to get access to the PCE is pretty technical, and so it takes an engineer a while to kind of research all of the information, the factual information that we've had in the past. However, Maddison AI does that in a matter of minutes for us. So it pulls all the historical data, it drafts a report that's easy to read, it allows you to go in and actually um, edit certain sections right there in the document. Here's an example where we need to go in and just shorten the previous action portion of this. So you go in there and tell it, make this shorter, do it in bullet points. It'll do all of that for you right then and there. So you can edit the document within Maddison to help you draft what you're looking for, and then you can export it out into a Word document. A really important piece of this is all of the references are there, so the engineers can go back and double check. Yes, this did indeed occur. This is truthful. This is factual. And then you take that human element and you can, finalize the report and get it finished. A report like this might now take me or an engineer 20 minutes to do before it might have been 8 to 10 hours. So good example of what this is doing real time for us. Last month alone, or a couple of months ago alone, Washoe County, with 85 users of this in our 3,000 employees, just with this one application, saving about 6.5 hours. The labor savings are great, and it's equated to a dollar amount, but really the value is now I've got those engineers focused on actually doing engineering work and putting their mind to those things that I've hired them to do. So super good payback for us. Don't have to hire as many engineers now moving forward. This doesn't replace the ones I've got. Testimonials from some of our government entity or agencies. Commissioner Garcia the other day in a meeting, just off the cuff, started talking about how she uses this more than I know. She is one of our pilot commissioners looking at this, utilizing Maddison AI to look up questions about how people had voted in the past, what the topic was that we've seen, similar to this in past meetings. So it's a time saver for not only the staff that she would normally go ask that question to, but for herself as well. She can, fish, so to speak, instead of asking someone to do it for her. So really good there. Another example, our chief financial officer had to write a gas franchise agreement staff report the other day. She'd never written one before. The franchise agreements don't come up very often, but there were some examples within Maddison. She threw it in there, and within 20 minutes had a staff report ready to go to the Board of County Commissioners. Didn't have to do the research. She can check everything that Maddison had done. So really great use case for us, saving us a lot of time and effort in Washoe County. Next little one we're going to cover really quickly is, a lot of our agencies receive phone calls from people doing due diligence on properties, whether it's a developer wanting to buy, whether it's a homeowner looking to buy a piece of property and want to understand what they can do with it. So we happen to have a property up at Lake Tahoe, the Calneva Resort. This is an example where someone asked a question, what can be done on this piece of property in Crystal Bay, Nevada? And so there's all kinds of layers of this one, from a regional planning agency to Washoe County's zoning and codes and all of the rest of the things. Maddison now can go in there and review this property, show us where it's at, make sure we verify that, but it can tell us all the things that we can do on the property, all those things that we cannot currently do on the property. And so it's a really quick way for our staff to just go in when they receive that phone call. They can type in the information. It doesn't even have to be a planner anymore. We're fact checking it to make sure everything's good. We have a 311 operations center. They get that phone call from the community. They can type in the information and they can come up with a list that we're all fairly confident is accurate and ready to go. So again, just a way to save minutes, save time over the time frame. We save a lot of time and effort on this, and again, that just helps us focus our work on the really important things, the real meat of what we want to do. So with that, Hayden, I think I'm turning it back over to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut. Thank you, Dave. Yeah, Dave is about the nicest guy and the most humble person, but just wicked smart and amazing leader in the Washoe County organization. So I'm going to cover the next two example use cases because we're developing them for agencies that are not Washoe County. So the next one is to draft project finding reports. And so this is for the city of Golden and the city of Golden in Colorado. For every parcel that has to have something built on it, to include residential parcels, you have to upload the plans to the planning department, and then a planner has to go through this document and create an 8 to 10 page report of project findings to make sure that it's meeting the required codes and compliance for the city of Golden. And this staff report takes about 10 hours of staff time to do. And, with the level of applications they have, it's, a full 40 hours a week probably for every planner. So what we have done for the city of Golden is built their institutional knowledge base in Maddison AI to include a workflow in which they can upload the site plan that gets submitted to them. And then Maddison will look at the site plan and do the first version draft of the report for the planner. And so this is really important, and we say first draft for a reason, because our goal is to get it to at least 80% here, and then have our planner go through and confirm all of the content that's in this plan report. So this, full thing, it's going to accelerate because this report is like 10 pages long. It takes our application about 4 minutes to generate it. Nobody wants to sit here and watch for that long. But at the end of the day, it gives us a first draft of a very comprehensive report that would have otherwise taken a planner probably 10 hours to draft. But instead of, having it drafted in this exact format that the city requires it to be in, it will do it for them. And then we can go back through as a planner and do the fact checking and make sure that it's meeting the compliance and requirements for that parcel. So that's another example here. And so for the city of Golden, we're building and deploying this right now. 4 reports a planner per month. It takes them about 10 hours to write this. So we're expecting to save, 300 hours plus a month in just report writing for them. And so that's important to note because it gives the planning department really precious and valuable time back in their everyday work instead of drafting a really long report. I know, so Andrew, I'm not ignoring your questions. I'm also just like trying to tab through a deck. So I promise, I will answer all your questions when I'm done presenting. I really do. So this last use case is to draft a procurement requirement. And this is, we're building this for the city, or excuse me, a procurement request in the city of Corona. And so this workflow is to help their procurement officers draft the purchasing request in their template, in their standards, using their workflow. So what's happening in the background is there are basically 5 different workflows that they have to follow to draft a procurement request. We have created an AI agent for them to step by step walk us through drafting the procurement request, answering the mandatory questions that we need to answer in that procurement flow to create at the end of it a fully first draft of this procurement request. Then we can do a review with our department that's making the request, and also begin to use to upload to Planabids or whatever procurement system you may be using. So it's a really, it's simple, like it's just questions and answers back and forth, but what's happening on the background is quite a complicated workflow. And it's pretty cool that at the end of it, you get a first draft of a procurement request. So it's almost done. So this whole workflow took me about 8 minutes. I just sped it up because nobody wants to watch. But at the end of it, we get a procurement request following the specs, the specs that we would expect this procurement request to be in the order with, as Dave would say, like the boilerplate legalese that you need to include. And that. So yeah. And then at the end, we get a procurement request, which is pretty cool. So this is a really new workflow that we built for the city of Corona right now. And so our expected impact is, again, about 348 staff hours just on procurement requests. So they do about 87 of these a year. They have 3 procurement officers, 29 per. We're expecting to save about 4 hours on the back and forth editing, drafting between, the business owner and then the procurement officer. So those are the 4 workflows we covered today. I think, Nicole, I got us almost under 20 minutes. And so if you are interested in talking with us, this was just kind of a quick demo on some of our capabilities. We're working in 29 local governments and counting as of right now. And we would love to talk with you if you're interested. And we're building them safely, securely using data from your systems of record in the Microsoft ecosystem. And really, we're here to save 5 hours a week on everyday tasks. So, Andrew, with that, or excuse me, Dave, thank you, thank you, thank you. Nicole, I'll flip it back to you. And questions I will try to get to in the chat.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Hayden. And thank you, Dave. Really appreciate it. Okay, so now let us change gears over to Supercity AI. And they're a leading innovator in technology for community and dedicated to transforming urban landscapes with cutting-edge AI solutions. So their partner agency is going to be joined by the city of El Paso, Texas, and Ivan Griss. So Supercity, are you ready to take it away?
Yep, we're ready. Thank you so much for the time. Let me get my camera going. Okay. So yes, I have Ivan here with me. A little bit of background. I I was formerly the CIO for the city of El Paso, and then San Francisco and the CTO of New York City. So I spent some time on the government side of things. And so a lot of this is definitely informed by my own experiences, but we took a very intent knowing how unique and challenging that is, we took a very specific approach to partner with the city of El Paso as we developed this. Ultimately, though, offering it to every city in the country. And Hayden, your stuff was great. I'd love to talk with you, frankly, afterwards, because everything you're doing on the inside of the operation, we're effectively presenting similar kind of use of AI to make things streamlined and easier for the public facing side of things. So I'm going to run through some things really quickly at a high level about what we've built and what we're doing. And then I'll hand it over to Ivan to talk from the city's perspective, specifically about how we're helping them deliver better service to the public. So, at the end, at the kind of the principal issue that we're addressing is that the fact that from the public perspective, the engagement, the service delivery, the systems, the information is disjointed, confusing, and frankly, from my own time inside government, as hard as we tried and had really clear goals and ambitions, it was very difficult for us to solve that from the inside without partnerships. And I just learned that through my experience. And so we're very crystal clear on what the goal is or what the problem statement is, which is trying to streamline those things and just ultimately remove friction for the public without adding any friction to the government side. So nothing that we're presenting here requires any forklifting, any core system replacements. We're just putting a modern, streamlined front end on par with every other industry that's using AI to improve their service delivery without the government having to forklift any internal systems, because we know how big and difficult that endeavor might be. So that was, again, a very intentional approach to how we address the issues here. We didn't guess, even though we worked inside of government, we weren't just guessing on the validity of our problem statement. We very much wanted to go and ask and validate that what we thought was happening was still happening. So we did. We talked to over 120 cities across the country and validated that people want it, the government needs it, and it's very difficult for them to do it on their own. So what we built in close partnership with Ivan and the El Paso team, and when I say close partnership, I mean, as we were developing this, Ivan would join our weekly product calls, give us direct input on what we were building, how we were building it. We made very significant adjustments along the way, benefiting from that input. So this is very much a kind of a joint partnered solution that we've built together. That was important to us delivering on kind of the partner responsibility with El Paso, but it also validated, and it's proven that as we've talked to other cities, that a lot of those things, those challenges are the same. So what we started with as our product suite is chat, news feed, news aggregation, payments, and then integrating. We can either provide 311 functionality or we can integrate a city that already has it. In the case of El Paso, as we were developing this, they were in the final stages of launching their own 311 web app, but didn't have a mobile app really to deliver that. Not only that, what we're trying to also combat is that governments have built or vendors have provided apps for very specific things, reporting potholes, but that's what that app does. So unless you're a professional pothole reporter, you don't have that app handy necessarily when the occurrence comes. And so that the efficacy of some of those solutions, as well thought out and intended as they are, is difficult because that isn't the daily life of people. So by combining these things, we're delivering enough value to the public that they have it on the ready for these other things that are also important to the city from an engagement standpoint. What the chat does effectively is gives the government control over a GPT-like experience. It's not Chat GPT skinned. We're a multi-model infrastructure stack in the background, but we give each city its own sandbox of knowledge base. So the city uploads PDFs, web links, whatever it wants the chat to learn and know, so that the city can actually advocate that this is a reliable source for information in a modern Chat GPT like user experience. As CTO New York City, I could never tell people go ask GPT for city questions because I can't guarantee where it's going to get the answers. This solves for that. So the city of El Paso has their own backend repository. They can upload documents, replace documents. So when you ask the garbage schedule, it knows that it's referring to the garbage schedule as has been presented by the city. In future stages, this chat will also execute services. So not only can you ask it how to pay a parking ticket or how to get a business permit, but it will actually concierge you through the process by saying, I'm going to need these documents. I'm going to need this information. Let me know when you're ready. And it will ask you those questions, and the user can just respond in natural language and make sure that all the data, the documentation and data is collected necessary to complete whatever that service request is, whether it's getting a garbage bin replaced, paying a parking ticket, getting a business permit, whatever it might be. So the chat is informational at the moment, but it's moving to actual service delivery. The news feed is solving the fact that every city, New York City specifically, has 500 websites, and I don't even know how many social media channels. People can't find the right one at the right time typically. And so we go and inventory all those, scrape all of that into one news feed, but it is not a social network. People can't post, they can't comment, they can just consume the official news from the official sources, but they get it all in one place and can filter it by topic. So if they want to know about street closures, they go here, they tap street closures, they'll see any information posted by any city agency on any channel that is related to street closures. They don't have to hunt and peck and try to find the information. On the payment side, you take a photo, make a payment, whether it's a parking ticket, utility bill, business permit, whatever that invoice is. You open the app, you take a photo. We validate the jurisdiction of record for that document, so we know whether it's an El Paso parking ticket or an Austin parking ticket. We validate that it's actually a legitimate ticket, because in some jurisdictions they're suffering from fraudulent tickets being distributed. And then we extract the data, only the data necessary to process that particular payment. And then the user can Apple Pay, Google Pay, ACH credit, debit, or cash. If they choose cash, we give them a barcode. They go to any retail location, common retail location, 90,000 nationwide, CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, Circle K, 7-Eleven, etc. This cashier scans the barcode. You pay them the cash. The bill remittance advice is immediately sent to the corresponding jurisdiction. So this gives the city real cashiering reach. And by the way, none of this, we don't charge cities anything for any of this. We monetize on convenience fees on payments. So everything I'm presenting here, everything that El Paso has done to contribute to this, El Paso hasn't spent a single dollar other than their time invested. And we're offering this to cities across the country also at no cost. I already mentioned the 311 integration. So we just plugged El Paso's brand new 311 web app right into the mobile experience on the app. And so users that are using this for chat have immediate access and visibility to the 311 functionality that El Paso invested in creating. We've received good feedback and visibility from publications across the country. We didn't only rely on the city of El Paso itself to execute this. We assembled pretty significant advisory team to make sure we were paying attention to important things, including former city leaders, former city manager of El Paso, Joyce Wilson, former CFO, Carmen, former mayor, Ron Nuremberg of San Antonio, and former Austin mayor, Steve Adler, all critical to making sure that we're doing this in the right way from the perspective of the government. We've assembled a really key group of partners. One that I'd highlight here, the industry standard, NVIDIA, AWS, IBM are very important to the validity of the infrastructure we're using and the solutions we're building on. But Granicus in particular is very interesting. This also came from El Paso. We had the news feed and we kind of came to the realization that Granicus has a bunch of important information about city council meetings and whatnot that's in a website that's not terribly easy to access or navigate. We reached out to Granicus and were able to very quickly assemble a partnership with them. And now those city council agendas, when they posted in Legistar, this again, the city, no new friction for the city. The city does exactly what they were always doing, but now that council agenda gets posted to the newsfeed in this modern mobile app experience. And you can search it, you can reference it in the chat experience also. So didn't cost Granicus anything, didn't cost the city anything. And out of the box, we have more value. The value to us is there's more content in our app, but we're also now delivering that important information to the public in a way that they're wanting to consume it, right? All of this was done in about 11 months. We started this whole idea April of last year. We hit the App Store at the end of March, technically, but we formally launched in El Paso in April of this year. So this is just a testament to when partnerships work well, we can execute quickly, deliver on the value that's needed by the city, and do it in a way that also can continue to scale. As we sign up other cities, it's one app, all cities. So everything that we're developing with El Paso would benefit San Antonio, San Jose, Los Angeles, New York, Austin, any other city, and vice versa. You also get to cross-pollinate audiences. So each jurisdiction doesn't have to try to build their own audience with their own app platform and encourage users to download it. User acquisition is one of the hardest elements of this. So all the user acquisition efforts in City A become available to City B. If I'm in El Paso today, like I am, I fly to Austin like I am tomorrow, the same app, I'm already ready to engage with the city, whether it's paying a parking ticket or asking a question through an interface I'm already familiar with. So I already have the UX understanding, regardless of which city I happen to land in at the time. So again, this all has moved very quickly. We've signed, our approach is we sign LOIs with cities. We're in deep kind of status or stage with some large cities also, but we're still going day by day with Ivan and the group in El Paso as we continue to bring these things forward. So with that, I want to hand it over to Ivan to kind of talk about his experience and his perspective in not only working with us, but what he's expecting of us even in the future as a platform to help them deliver better service to the public. Ivan.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you for your kind words, and Nico, also thank you for your kind words on the chat. So my name is Ivan Gaudet. I'm the Deputy Chief Technology Officer for the City of El Paso. And we are kind of a medium-sized city, right? And in a much larger region, deceptively so. So I would say that this was a good trial for you guys. In my situation, I used to be an AI researcher. I come from academia from my own startup, so I did it backwards. Miguel was in local government and went that direction. I come from that direction into local government, which is swap places, and which is why we had some common ground to work on this pretty smoothly. So as a city, initially, a lot of my initiatives were related to user experience, right, and human-computer interaction. And I saw in the chat some questions about, well, what about a county? What about this? What about that? One of the things that we found really useful about Supercity and the data set that we curate and we post out there is that, a lot of our residents and a lot of our visitors, they don't necessarily know, where El Paso begins, where El Paso ends. Is this county? Is this city? Does someone have a separate initiative? Does someone have something somewhere else? right? So all initial efforts we're focusing on, let's focus on city website, let's focus on city services, let's focus on city offerings. But really, whomever is passing by, they don't care if it's the city, if it's another organization, if it's the county. They just care about the service. They just care about the event. They just care about what's going on, right? And Supercity has allowed us to do that, right? Because we can curate that. We don't necessarily post it officially, in our channels, but it lets us keep, all of our partners kind of as part of the information loop. The other really helpful thing was Miguel already mentioned that our 311. So we're in a unique position that the city does have a development team. And so we do have software developers, and we developed our own 311 app. We were about to launch, and it is a web service, right? And I did not have the technical talent to provide native mobile apps or any other way, and also the distribution mechanism, right? So this was a pretty, effortless kind of, hey, we have these services, we want to list all these services there, we want to make it available to people, we want to make it easy, we want to avoid, complicated sign-ins, complicated forms, just, how can we do this outreach? So it's a win-win situation. Like Miguel said, zero cost to the city. We get to propagate our services, and we get to even have better communication, right, with the county and with other agencies across the region, because now we're all in this together. And to Miguel's point, one of the big challenges that we had as a city when we tried to incorporate AI into our own workflows, into our own processes, into our own websites and pages, a big issue is, with using, ChatGPT, Copilot, or any pre-trained model or things like that. One of the issues that we typically encountered is the timeliness of the information, right? One of the biggest challenges with everyone who tried was that information was dated. And if you were interested about something relevant to a council meeting or a council agenda or a board and commission or something like that, it sometimes took a little time to that take effect or reflect. These are weekly or daily things. And by the time it's reflected in your AI tools, it's already a little outdated or gives the wrong impression. Worst of all, we don't want to give the impression ever that we're intentionally misdirecting anyone, right? Which is kind of a sensitive item. And with Supercity, they said, hey, who are you using for this service? And then they just went and looked into that and talked to them, and completely hands off. Now we do offer these services. We have a pretty strict quality control, so we do check all of these things. We've knocked out a lot of options or offerings for these types of services, particularly targeted to the general public, because it's very sensitive in the sense that you don't want to intentionally or unintentionally mislead anyone, biased data, hallucinations, anything like that. And this has been one of the very few that has completely passed our checks and our Q&A for public facing services. So very hands-off approach. It's been great. We are looking forward to the payments option. Like some people pointed on the chat, payments options present additional challenges and additional time to properly set up and do transparently, do it fairly. But it's a great offering, and really thank you guys for all the work that you've done with El Paso. I know that you landed here because you had roots across the area, but I also think that this has been a great collaboration. We appreciate everything you've done, and we appreciate letting us pilot test from inception and development all the way to your launch. It's been a pleasure, and thank you.
Yep. Thank you. And Nicole, I think we're on time.
Yeah, you guys did great. Thank you so much, AI, and really appreciate Ivan you getting on and talking with us as well. So well done, everyone. You guys are great timekeepers. All right, last but certainly not least, as I mentioned, Micah has recently wrote a book. I'm sorry, it does not zoom in correctly, but it's called Fragile Systems. I had the pleasure of getting a pre-read on the book before it went onto Amazon. He offers, and I'll just kind of quote what I had written into the synopsis for today, but he offers a sharp critique of how AI is applied in government, why many digital strategies fail, and what it takes to design public technology that genuinely fits the system it aims to support. As I also mentioned, he is a advisor to my own company, MyTown AI, and I am just so excited to have him here with us today. So it's a little bit slightly different. This is not a vendor demo. This is our, from local government for local government. And so, Micah, take us away. Oh,
Thanks,
and
Nick.
also, hit the list, the AI, 50 list from the Center for Public Sector AI. That was an award that just came out recently, and Micah made that list. So thank you.
Yes, thanks, Nicole, and you too. I saw actually a number of folks on this call that made that top 50 list. So that's pretty cool, I guess. So just a little bit about me, if I haven't had a chance to meet any of you guys. I'm Micah Gaudet. I'm a deputy city manager in the Phoenix metro area, where we get de-incentivized or desensitized to the phrase heat warning this time of year. So currently 112 degrees outside, so just a nice balmy another summer day in the Phoenix area. And as Nicole said, I've been doing a lot of work within the Gov AI space here for the last couple of years, and traveling the country talking to people, especially in local government, about how to apply and integrate AI in their daily systems. And that's really where the genesis of the book came about, was that philosophy. And one thing that just struck me, and I would kind of maybe do a thought exercise with me for a quick second here, is thinking through your reasons for adopting or using AI on a professional basis, right? Your motivations and things like that. And then for those of us who are using AI personally, maybe for fun, for other things like that, why you use AI in your personal life. And what I've come across is that those are often two different motivations, where on the professional side, we focus so much on efficiency and productivity. Not that those are necessarily bad things in its own right, but on the personal side, we focus so much on, oh, it's a cool factor, it's fun to use and things like that. And one of the things I explore in the book, and something I've been really thinking about for a long time now, is on the idea of efficiency. And a couple things. Number one is that efficiency is never neutral, right? It's not obvious to me that being efficient is necessarily a desired end state. It depends on which direction we're going, because efficiency can simply accelerate dysfunction. The other thing too, I think we have to consider, is efficiency doesn't necessarily provide value. And so if we take a look at, and I'm just going to pick on random AI systems and hopefully don't offend anyone too badly here, but you take a typical a chatbot solution for, say, a 311 program, where it can automate some process or some task, right? Even as efficient as that can be, the staff who are manning those front desk and taking those calls and receiving the public, they don't necessarily get to go home early just because they're more efficient, right? So there's not an intrinsic motivation per se to chase efficiency for the sake of it. So, and in line of that too, so thinking through, when we look at, particularly on the procurement side of things, when we're doing these use cases and doing these demos, of looking at, okay, what are we actually getting here with this new event AI solution? And the first thing is, on the efficiency illusion, saying, okay, are we really getting efficiency, or are we simply accelerating something that doesn't need to be accelerated? And the primary question I think we should ask ourselves when it comes to AI procurement now, I think AI is obviously disrupting a lot of different things. And one of the things that's disrupting, at least it should disrupt, is our procurement process. And typically our procurement process, especially with software or technological procurement, is we typically ask the question of, does this XYZ software, this XYZ technology, does it work, and does it do what it promises to deliver? And that's typically how we've done it, right? If you've been a part of any type of ERP or any type of enterprise-wide software upgrade or software acquisition, that's typically the process of how we, go through the RFP and procurement processes. Does the system give us what it's supposed to do? However, what often happens with that is it builds in, I think, some really, really dangerous systems in local government. And one of those things is, if you've been a part of 5 years ago, maybe you upgrade your finance department's, ERP system. And then 5 years down the road, you realize that, oh, this thing's not working anymore. And then you do another, ERP, another RFP, go through the whole process again and acquire maybe an upgrade or a different solution. And then 5, 10 years again happens again. So you're constantly in this process of constantly reevaluating things like that. And so I think with AI, the question isn't just, does this system or does this solution do what it promises to do? But a really, really important question to ask ourselves is, what happens when the system actually works? What's the implications to our team? What's the implications to how city services are described, how they're accessed, how they're delivered? What's the implication and the output to the community? And a quick example of this would be social media, right? Social media has been a largely transformative technology across local government, right? It's completely changed the way in which residents interact with their communities. Some good and frankly some bad, right? It's elevated some toxic voices and some toxicity and hate towards local government and towards what we're doing, and even elevated things that are not necessarily or proposed ideas and maybe philosophies that are not always helpful, right? It's kind of elevated a voice where that if a guy who drives down the road is now a road engineer just simply because he drives a Tahoe or something like that, right? So there's a gap there too. It's elevated voices that maybe don't necessarily, just because of how the algorithm works, don't necessarily provide value. They just provide noise. And so the same thing too with AI. It's really thinking, okay, what are we really achieving by implementing this AI system? And is our system design, and I say system, I don't mean AI system, I mean the system of government as a whole, is your local government designed so that it can absorb those changes, right? The one thing that is crystal clear to me is that when we bring AI into a city, it's going to disrupt things, right? We try to make it as seamless as possible and things like that. But we're bringing in a whole new way of how to interact with information, with how to interact with our workflows. It's doing things we've never seen possible before. And so the first question is, okay, what happens when it works? And is our system designed to really absorb the changes that it's going to develop over the course of time? Is our staff prepared to be able to handle that type of thing, right? Is there redundancies in place where once our residents become dependent on AI systems, especially things that are interfaced with the public, is there a way to have redundancy built in where we're not setting ourselves up for failure long term? The other thing too, I think is exceptionally important. We talk about procurement and analyzing AI vendors, is rethinking ROI and thinking it in terms of public value versus dollars and cents, right? And there's been a concerted push, and I think for the right reason, but there's been a concerted push in local government to think things through and develop processes that are more in line with the private sector in terms of ROI and value and things like that. But the main difference, though, I think, and this is something that we really got to focus in on and remember, is that our currency in local government is not shareholder value like it would be in a private sector company. Our value is really in public trust and how well our community and our community members trust their government to deliver what they say they're going to deliver, to be responsive, to listen, and things like that. And so when we're evaluating AI vendor solutions, I love the solution of like, hey, this will save this much time and therefore we'll have this many, saved dollars and hours amount of time saved, right? But really, if that one way to look at that kind of thing is that actually usable time? So a quick example, in the city I help oversee over here in the Phoenix area, we had a solution to look at an AI report writer system for our police officers. So basically take the body worn camera footage, look at the transcription of the camera of the footage, and generate a report from that, right? So great system. This particular vendor only charged your firstborn son, which is a really good deal. So it was pretty cheap, all things considered. But what we looked at it was we compared, okay, what is the actual amount of time spent by officers doing report writing, and then what is the actual cost of this AI system? And then we went a step further to say, okay, all right, how much time is our officers spending on this? And what we realized is that they weren't necessarily sitting down in 2-hour chunks writing police reports, right? It was probably 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, 15 minutes here across the course of their 10-hour day. And so, yes, while it saved time, reducing the time saved from, say, 15 minutes down to 10 minutes for that report writing, that extra 5 minutes isn't necessarily usable time, right? It's just going to be absorbed within the full scope of the day. So one of the things to consider too, looking at ROI and value, is, especially in the time calculation, is it actually usable time saved? Is there actually something I can do with that? Or is it so broken up across the course of an entire day that it is just going to get absorbed within normal workflows? There's actually no real benefit to the time saved. And that's what we saw here in our city, was there really wasn't a valuable time saved at all. So thinking through on the public value side, okay, what is the actual time saved? How does this actually help us build trust? How does this build resilience? How does this build mission alignment? And going beyond just, hey, this solution before cost X amount of money, this solution now costs X plus 5% or X minus 5%. So therefore it's better because we're saving 5%. Factoring in the cost of what our teams are comfortable using, what our community is comfortable interfacing with, and things like that, I think is really important. And sometimes that 5% is worth it. If it's worth it, that's awesome. That's great. If there's things that's time saved and those 5 minutes can actually be used for something better, that's great. Maybe that 5 minutes for the officer in some cities, maybe that's the ability to go inside a 7-Eleven and interact with some folks and get some joyride or something. I don't know. But like, maybe there's some benefit to that, but really thinking through, okay, how do we turn this time saving into, or this cost savings into, actual public value and actual things that actually return dividends in the currency of trust, as local government is dependent on trust. The last thing I'll touch on too, before I turn things back over to Nicole, is just remembering that procurement is more than just acquiring a software. It's more than just bringing some new technology into the city, right? And really thinking of it almost as ecosystem design, especially when it comes to AI. I don't think AI is a living system. Sometimes I have my doubts about whether or not it's a living system. No, it's not alive, I don't think. But recognizing that this is functioning very much in the same model as a humans do, right? There's a good reason, and we can debate the efficacy of it or not, but just the facts are, a lot of companies are bringing AI systems to replace people, right? And that's because it's acting like a person. It's acting like a really great analyst, or a really great brainstorming partner, or a really great technical provider, technical assistant, whatever it is. It's acting in these types of roles and doing a really good job at. So with that in mind, thinking of this almost as if we're onboarding a new person. In the same way when we're doing hiring and things like that, if you're doing hiring the right way, one of the questions you're thinking about is cultural fit, right? Does this person elevate our culture? Does this person provide a new and diverse perspective to our team that maybe we haven't had before? And that's the same type of thing we got to think through with AI as well, and making sure that when we're bringing in AI software, we're, number one, making sure we figure out, okay, what happens when it works. We are looking at the ROI from the perspective of public value, and we're recognizing that we're bringing in something into a living system. And so making sure that we're all comfortable with this new AI system living amongst us. So with that said, Nicole, I'll turn things back over to you. Appreciate you taking, let me have some time to ramble on for a few minutes here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, Micah. And like I said, I got the opportunity, oh, there it is. I got the opportunity to do a pre-read of this, and I actually wrote a praise. It's on the back of the book, and I just want to read it to you all to just sort of close this down, because I do think that it's important for us in local government, and especially when it's one of our own that's actually, you know, that wrote the book. I think it's important to just tap into, you know, what essentially I came away with this book and what others might glean from it. It says, it's refreshing to hear Micah articulate what so many of us see, that local governments are not machines to be optimized, but living ecological systems to be tended. As both an elected public servant and someone building AI systems for the public sector, this book is a must read in understanding that trust, judgment, and relational intelligence are not inefficiencies or things to be automated out of government. They are the foundational infrastructure for any civic system that hopes to endure, evolve, and adapt in an AI era. So I want to say thank you to all of our vendors today, Maddison AI, Supercity AI. Thank you so much. And Micah, thanks for closing us down. Really appreciate it. We'll be back. Hopefully everyone signed up for our use case demos. When you go and registered, you should have gotten all of those into your calendar. If you haven't, we'll make sure to follow up again with that registration link. And thank you so much again for joining.